All right. Welcome, everybody, to the Voice by Matt podcast. I'm Matt Bertho,
Hi, Matt Bertho.
your host, with my sidekick.
I'm the sidekick, yes. Billy. I like being the sidekick. I love
And today we have a
Sidekick.
guest mic that is right there. And that's Bree. Right, Bree? And Sydney. And Miss Miranda is chilling over there. We have Dallin chilling in the house. And Bryce. And then we might have some other guests come in. We'll see. So today's episode is going to be kind of a live action one that we are doing during what we call Viking time. And I wanted to do this so you guys can get an idea of the student interaction that we have and kind of maybe have some students that are comfortable on the mic and with the video come in and talk about how we find our voice and kind of their voice journey. So, Billy,
Yes.
how are you doing today? First,
I'm good today. How are you doing?
I'm
How was your midday workout?
well. The Whoop Band said,
AKA class.
let's see, the Whoop Band in class. So this morning I had an 8.9 strain. And then from the next class, from 11:45 to almost 1:39, I've been going a 10.6 strain. So max heart rate in the morning one was 158. Max heart rate for the next one was 159. So I've burned about 2,500 calories today so far in the day.
That's impressive. That's a lot of calories
Yeah, I'm feeling it.
for half a day.
I'm feeling it.
You need to eat something.
I did. The last 2 days, I've burned 4,500 calories every day.
Each day?
But the reason why I say this is because my boy, Patrick Mahomes, wore a Whoop Band, WHOOP, in the game that the Chiefs won against the Buffalo Bills with 13 seconds
You
left.
were in the game?
No, he wore it in the game.
It must be
And so
a tough piece of technology.
when Butker, the kicker, when he kicked the game tying field goal,
Uh-huh.
Mahomes' heart rate went up to 160. Just watching it.
How did you know it? You
He
can
had the-
tell on the whoop.
Yeah, they put the
it's
the
on the-
stats on there
Okay.
on the website. I just thought that was cool that Mahomes
cool.
wears a Whoop Band in the game.
Do athletes wear
Yeah,
things on their like watches and stuff during games?
absolutely.
Okay, that's crazy to me because I would think it would like get broken.
No,
But okay.
I mean, you
yeah.
think about it like as a coach, if you have real time data of that player, their
Oh,
heart
yeah.
rate,
Okay. Yeah.
like that's legit.
Right.
But
You
yeah,
don't get smashed.
today acapella choir rehearsal, it got wild. Just everybody's super excited about Vikings on Broadway and the whole experience. But at the beginning of class today, I asked a question. I said,
Mhm.
"What is your most impactful moment that you've had being in the choir program?" And today there was so many awesome answers. But the realization of the room that I wanted to make very evident to them was, you notice how no one's really talking about this amazing solo that they got, or that they just got to sing and this amazing thing happened, or
Yeah.
we did this show or whatever, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It was about little tiny moments.
Mhm.
So moments like, what were some of the moments? Help me out.
Yeah, just some of the memorable things that were people shared.
Like what?
Like the
Um,
senior
trying to
speeches
think.
that we have before VOB
Senior
every
speech
year.
moments.
The senior party last year.
Oh
the one
yeah,
after the last show.
yeah.
And then one
Jack-
student
Jack
I know
did that
talked
thing.
about his alter
Yeah,
ego.
or maybe.
He was talking about his freshman year, which would have been my sophomore year. We alter egos.
And a lot of them said their first 2 days in freshman choir,
Mm-hmm.
which I thought was really eye-opening for me as a teacher to know, like, those first 2 weeks, the freshmen, that experience is
It's impactful.
Huge.
Yeah, it leaves its mark. Yeah.
And one thing that we do to help students find their voice is we have them stand up when we say their name. And so like I'll say, probably in the first couple weeks of school, I'll say, what's your favorite food? And people will stand up and they'll be like, spaghetti. And that's about how loud they'll talk. And then we go, Josiah. And we all clap. And they're clapping the first time they do it is like this. And we have these booms that I call them, and they're like drums that we use, and it's their responsibility to get the drums every day. But they have to learn all that, and they have to learn how to stand up and say something.
Mm-hmm.
They have to learn to stand up and say something. They have to learn to acknowledge this person that has the courage to
Which
say.
is hard for, well, anybody maybe, but especially for kids. It's hard for me to do.
Really?
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes you just don't feel like being thankful. You know what I mean?
So, I think we're going to bring some of the students in. We're going to ask them that question. How did you find your voice? At what moment did you find your voice? And so first up, we got Mr. Mark Thompson.
Going on?
You're a junior?
Yep.
What are you doing today?
I actually have a swim meet
Ooh,
about an hour away.
you going to cut some time?
A lot of time. I'm in some new events today. We'll see how it goes.
All right. So Mark made it to KMEA All-State also. So did Bree.
Yeah.
And so did Ruby. She's not in here, though. So, Mark, how'd you find your voice?
I originally found my voice back in my freshman year. Coming into high school as an 8th grader, I was like most others. I had my head absolutely through the roof, my ego, and I was just coming in thinking I was going to be the absolute best in absolutely everything I did. So, when I signed up for choir, I was like, man, I'm going to be the best singer out of the entire class. I'm going to be amazing. And literally day one, I was immediately shut down. And, over the years, it's really just kind of made me realize that, ego is not the way to go. And really finding my voice just came through lots of time and having to go through the hardship, but the biggest thing was just finding my voice that first year.
So you said the hardship helped you get through to find your voice, the struggle. So today I read a passage in the Man's Search for Meaning. Bree's helping me out. She's making it big for me. That there are 3 things that give life meaning. Viktor Frankl, probably Frankl.
Frankel. I don't know. Yeah.
Viktor
One of those two.
Frankl was a doctor, psychiatry. Logotherapy is what he came up with instead of psychotherapy. And logotherapy is a person going through the suffering instead of like numbing or ignoring the suffering. It's about, and the story of Viktor Frankl is he was captured and he was put in Auschwitz, the concentration camp. And he came up with these 3 things of his theory of psychology, but he calls it logotherapy, is number 1, 3 things that give life meaning. Number 1 is creating a work or doing a deed. So his work was his book, what he wrote. All right. Doing a deed could be helping someone with some money or cooking someone food. Number 2, encountering someone. So, hello, how are you? Meeting new people. Also, that one was also experiencing something new. And then the last one is going through suffering. Very, very just on the money, going through suffering.
Yeah.
And, people that, you think about the hardest moments of your life, we're obviously still here. We learned some lessons with that, right? So Mark, you know, what is the hardest part as a freshman, sophomore, you know, in the choir program? What's the hardest part, suffering wise, that made you find your voice?
One of the biggest parts for me, and it both affected me on and off. I would say it was my freshman year, summer coming into it. My grandfather ended up passing away, and it struck me and my family really hard. And it was like just overall a giant moving point, and I had to push through the grief. And I mean, still, it just comes up today sometimes. I mean, not as, I guess, prevalent as it was before, but it's like, you think it goes away, but then, it never really does. But some of that, going through that suffering has, I don't know, made me stronger in a sense.
Well, it makes us appreciate life that we have, this time, currency. This time is really the only actual currency that we have.
Yeah.
And it's kind of made up. I mean, we just kind of made it up.
Mm-hmm.
But that's really good, Mark. And, Mark is a junior, and for him to be so vulnerable and share that, that's brave. Thanks, bro. Thanks,
Yeah,
Mark.
Thank you.
So Billy,
Yes.
what those three things that I said,
Mm-hmm.
I'm asking you the questions.
Okay.
Which one resonates with you the most about the meaning of life?
Oh gosh, I don't know. Probably all of it. I mean, the toughest one is probably the third one. Just learning how to go through hard things and being willing to let them change you for the better.
So you said learning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's a learning process. Suffering is kind of an education.
Yeah.
That and you don't. I think you have a choice. You have a choice whether or not, with all those things, you have a choice whether or not to experience people, whether or not to let suffering change you for the better. Or what was the first one?
Creating a work.
Whether or not, or whether or not you give your life to that. So yeah,
I like that. Do we have any other students that want to share? Okay, Bree, go.
Okay. I feel like for me, like I'm used to being disappointed by men. Like that's just how my life has been. Whenever I was 3, my dad left.
Dang, she just went right for it.
Sorry,
man.
y'all.
Here we go.
But
that's pretty.
he
intense.
left, and he really didn't communicate with me or my mom or my sister whenever I was growing up. Like he just didn't care. That's how I took it. And so I moved to Kansas 4 years ago, and my mom actually had to move back to Oklahoma with my little sister. So right now I have a legal guardian, but it's just me, really. She didn't sign up to parent a 16-year-old, 17-year-old girl. So the hardest part for me was definitely learning to be on my own outside of it, but also having somebody like Mr. Bertho inside. And he shows so much like love and caring for me, and I really appreciate it, and I need that.
So how'd you find your voice, Bree?
How did I find my voice?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. By being alone, because I usually listen to what people tell me to say, but I can't do that anymore because it's just me. And you've shown me that it's okay to be me, and it's okay to say what I need to say.
There we go.
Especially like freshman year, you really would just want to be a cool kid with everybody, and you want to know everyone, and you want everybody to know who you are, and you really want to be the best one. But that's not the point of this program in any way, shape, or form. Like I really wanted to be friends with everybody, and I wanted everybody to like me, but now I don't care what anybody thinks about me.
Another junior.
Solely because he's shown me that I am the most important person in my life.
Wow. Shoot.
So
you wrapped that up good. Huh.
I love it.
Billy, do you have any questions today?
For who, you or Bree?
Anyone.
How do you do it, man? How do you get through those rehearsals?
Oh, today?
Yeah, I mean, I just could. I don't know how you do it. I mean, when you're gone, sometimes I have to be there by myself, and it's hard. It's hard for me, and we don't. It's a struggle, but so I have that appreciation of seeing you, go through things like that. So.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, that's my question.
Well, I know why it's hard for anyone to step into that room. It's because
Oh, you're outnumbered.
you're outnumbered,
Big time.
and there are 53 people that have found their voice.
Oh yeah, right. They're very assertive,
Very assertive, very
opinionated,
very strong,
very strong,
very independent,
independent. Yep,
which I'm proud of.
created monsters.
Yeah. Sometimes, yeah, it feels like
Three
that.
monsters.
Mr. Bertho.
Yeah.
What do you do? Like, what process do you take to help us find our voice? Like, what do you do?
Okay, well, I touched on it at the beginning. When I do roll call, I have the students stand up and they say the prompt that I give them, like, what's your favorite food? Or, today in a cappella in the choir, it was, what's the moment that impacted you the most in the choir program? And I just had that question that came up to me today because, I don't know. I wanted to know, and I wanted them to reflect on why they're there. And it was really cool that majority of them said there was some suffering things that they went through, whether it was the audition process or going to senior speeches after Vikings on Broadway. And watching seniors just pour their hearts out and be so raw and vulnerable. We had a boy share today, how it just big time impacted him that his sister, was so vulnerable and talked about the family, and that just made him ugly cry. Like those moments, you can't program them. You have to let that happen. And there are times that I have to let things happen. You can come in. There are times that I have to let things happen in the classroom environment because I know that it's supposed to be this way. And anytime I try to make something happen or control a situation, it never works out very well. And so, I've learned to go with the flow to help people find their voice. I've learned when a student, like yesterday, there was a student in one of the freshman boys choir that I can tell that this person has learned at a very young age that it's okay to say can't, and it's okay to just quit. It's fine. It's fine to quit. It's fine to say can't. And one of the things I tell them is can't does not belong in this room. And how dare you say that you can't as a teenager when you have such a great big life to live? And, should you limit yourself as a teenager with what you can do? And that's, that's kind of where I start, is getting them to stand up, getting them to say a prompt, to speak up, encouraging them to speak up, encouraging them to give gratitude to someone in the room, give kindness to someone in the room, not just like superficial, oh, your hair looks nice today, or your clothes look nice today, but actual, like, it really meant a lot when you did this thing for this person. Those kinds of things. That was a good question, Bree. What else do you got, Bree?
What is your favorite part of the process?
Oh, I mean, that's pretty easy for me. Change tears. Change tears. When a student doesn't quit in the breaking point. They literally stay inside the tears. Then they're crying in the process, and they push through. And on the other side, this new version of them comes out. And you never know when it's going to happen. You never know, like, if it happens in class or in performance, after performance. But that moment, I can always recognize that moment and always tell people, hey, you just had a moment. Like, that was big for you. And I'm excited to see what happens after this moment. I always can recognize it immediately. Billy, do you recognize that moment for people?
Probably not as well as you do. I mean, I guess maybe I've learned to recognize it more. Yeah. I don't know if it comes as naturally to me.
Well, you encouraged me the other day
Mhm.
when I was helping that one person, and you
Okay.
were like telling me afterwards that, you know,
Mm-hmm.
that I needed to do that. Like, that you could tell, like, that person needed that encouragement.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, change tears are my favorite thing. Also, you know, people stepping into their greatness, watching that happen. I love that. You know, I loved rehearsal today, watching students step into their role, like the parts that I gave them, and watching them just dominate it. And but it's always fun too to watch the person that wasn't sure that they could do it. And you know, everybody's been there. And that's one of the blessings I have as a teacher is watching these moments happen. You know, I can say Kinley's name probably, but you know, like, it's really awesome for someone like Kinley to come in here and just be like, hey, this is not working for me and I want to do this. Can I do that? And I'm like, yeah, you totally can do that. But just the awareness that, you know, she's a sophomore in high school, the awareness to know, like, this is not working. And the assertiveness of that conversation too. Like, she's just very assertive, very strong in her presence, and says, this is what I want. Can we make this happen? And I'm like, yeah, of course. But, you know, I told the guys I went to with the retreat, I told them how refreshing it was to have conversations with adults like we were having, these deep, meaningful conversations. And I told them, and I wasn't joking, that the majority of those conversations, like the conversations that we were having at the retreat, those conversations I literally have with my students every day. That depth. And I realized, talking to these adults, these men, that, man, it's really rare that teenagers are having these kinds of deep conversations with me literally every day. And it starts out there in class when students stand up and they say a prompt and they speak a prompt and they say, this is what it is how I feel. You know, we've had kids talk about suicide. We've had kids talk about dads leaving. We've had kids talk about being abandoned. We've had kids talk about drug use. And yeah, I mean, in class, like, just in a check-in, these students have the courage to share in a cappella among 53 teenagers. This is how I feel. I was ugly crying. I went through this hard thing, you know?
Did that once. I did do that once. Remember right before you guys went to New York with the Summers class, the alumni, my mom just pulled this fast on me. I think you should move to Oklahoma after your junior year. And I was like, I don't want to do that because this place is my home and they're my family. And summer was my sophomore year, freshman year choir mom. We have that here where we
Summer,
pass it
not the
down.
season. Summer, the person.
Summer Markley. And she just walked into the class in mixed choir, which is before a cappella. And in mixed choir, I was super happy to see her. And then in a cappella, it was just like hit me. I was like, holy crap. Like, I don't want to let go of this, you know? Like, I don't want to say goodbye to all these people. Because, like, even then, they just kind of walked in and they were just like, what's up, guys? And we all knew each other. And it was just like we were reconnecting, rekindling.
Yeah. And Sydney said today, the alumni choir thing that we did that summer, I was very proud because, you know, they all stood up and had real conversations just like these guys do now. And I think for Sydney and the current choir students at the time, they were like, wow, like everybody that has been through the choir program with Bertho and Billy have these experiences. So, you know, the process is something they understand really well. And I hope that after listening to me and Billy and Bree and Sydney and Mark, these amazing teenagers that just share so openly, you know, that you can feel like you can share openly also. Because there's a voice inside of every single one of us. It's a real voice, an authentic voice, and you only get one. And my job as a teacher is to help people find their inner voice and help it become their outer voice so that they can stay the same. So I love you guys. Thank you for listening to the podcast, and we will see you next week. Peace.